Rather be in Richmond through all the rail and hay than to be in Nashville wearing that ball and chain. Won't get drunk no more, won't get drunk no more, won't get drunk no more, way down the old plank road. Well, welcome to a session with the 4-string Canjo, which is a historic instrument that places itself in time somewhere between the gourd banjos brought over to this country in the memory of the African slaves and constructed from available materials found on their plantation homes, and the more modern instruments that made their way through the era of minstrelsy in the middle of the 19th century to the banjos that we know today. And this is an instrument that can be made from available materials, recycled materials like a tin cookie can, a shaped wooden neck, a fretboard that doesn't have frets on it but does have the frets marked, so one can get used to the idea of where the fingers belong to be, even though the style that was used in those times was one that required no frets to obstruct the sound, and so every transitional note was smooth going from one place to the other. We also use zither tuners, and these are actually drilled and then pounded in, and they're threaded so that you can actually tighten them with a zither tuning wrench of this sort here. It's a great and easy instrument to put together, and we'll indicate to you where instructions are available, and you can contact to see a demonstration video of the same. But what I wanted to do today was to talk a little bit about some of the different playing styles and the way this instrument is set up and tuned. This is a theoretical conglomeration of information that has been brought together over the years by a variety of researchers. And the tuning that best suited my scope of what this instrument was intended to do, and the way it sounds today and the way it might have sounded in the old days, is to utilize a tuning which actually is found today on an instrument called the saz that's found in Arabian countries. And the way we're going to tune this is to tune the thickest or lowest string to a G, the second string will be tuned to a D above the G. The first string, that's the one closest to the ground, is tuned to a G an octave above the low string. And as a result of some research done on a painting called The Old Plantation, found in the Abbey Aldrich Rockefeller Folk Art Collection in Williamsburg, Virginia, we've gone ahead and put the drone string in the middle of the string length. And so it becomes a high octave G. So the strings are high G, low G, D, and the in-between G on the first string. Now, most of these instructions can also be used on a 3-string variation of this instrument, where you omit the lowest G string. Techniques for playing an instrument like this required a lot of various left-hand motions, one of those being what's called the pull-off, where you strike the string, remove the finger hard enough to pluck the string again. So you'll see pull-offs, hammer-ons, where you strike the string and then hammer it at a higher position, always going from a low to a high note, where the pull-off always goes from a higher to a lower note. The slides, and occasionally you'll hear a choked note, where you actually pinch the string and raise it to a higher pitch. So the whole idea is to demystify all the little moves and things that you hear on the instrument. And fortunately, this tuning, G, G, D, G, puts the instrument in an open chord that is neither major nor minor. And you can, by adjusting your fingers at this end, play songs that are in a minor key or play songs that are in a major key. And it's a great advantage to this, this style of tuning and its effect upon the overall instrument. As far as what the right hand does in this process, there are a number of different styles that have been used, watched by folks who listen to instruments that are related to this instrument in Africa today. And going back to descriptions from some of the early banjo instruction books of what was seen and what was done, a variety of styles exist, some of them picking in an upward direction with fingers of the right hand, some picking with a down direction. In the up picking styles, and there's one that folks in my area call Carolina clawhammer. It's not really the clawhammer style, and we'll show you that in a little bit. But the Carolina up picking, let's call it, is a process in which the index finger plucks up on a string. The remaining fingers of the right hand uncurl down across the strings, while the thumb comes to rest on the fifth string, and then it plucks itself off, bringing the hand up, and then so you get a Now, that style can also be incorporated with a style called double thumbing, which is a back and forth between the thumb and index finger, where the index finger leads, then the thumb, index finger again, and thumb on the fifth string, or the fourth string rather. And that's a good example there where you combine the two styles, the double thumbing and the Carolina up picking. Yeah, this style and all the little trimmings and fancy things that go along with it can be incorporated into playing songs. And you could do something as simple as that song that began the folk scare of the 1960s called Tom Dooley. Hand me down my banjo, I'll pick it on my knee. This time tomorrow, it'll be no use to me. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Dooley, poor boy, you're bound to die. Now notice, if you will, that there's different ways to say the same thing when you're using this style of playing. You can, that tune is, but by using a combination of the hammers and slides, or hammers and pulls, you get that. So I took her on the mountain, swore she'd be my wife. Took her on the mountain, there I stabbed her with a knife. And hang down your head, Tom Doula, hang down your head and cry. Hang down your head, Tom Doula, poor boy, you're bound to die. Well, we're talking about playing this interesting instrument with 3 long strings and 1 short string. And this tuning, this G, D, G, G tuning, gives you the interesting option of being able to play songs in major keys, like that Tom Dooley, or coming up to the imaginary 3rd fret, which is right here, and playing down and getting that sort of modal or minor scale. My dog treed a rabbit, my dog treed a rabbit. Well, come on down, rabbit. Well, come on down, rabbit. My wife died on Friday night, Saturday she was buried. Sunday was my courting day, and Monday I got married. My dog treed a rabbit, my dog treed a rabbit. Well, come on down, rabbit. Well, come on down, rabbit. Sounds that sort of bridge the African roots of this instrument and combine them with the music that we're kind of used to hearing these days. In the minor keys, there's lots of songs like East Virginia and Shady Grove that have been played both by bluegrass musicians and old-time musicians in major and minor keys, because the instrument has such an interesting sound when it's in this tuning that's neither major or minor. For the musically advantaged, that means that when you have a chord, a major chord or a minor chord, there's 3 different notes. And if you think of them as 1, 2, 3, what we've done is we've eliminated the note number 2, which is the note that differentiates a major chord from a minor chord. Generally, if you were playing a G major, it would be G, B, D. And if you were playing a G minor, it would be G, B flat, D. So what we've done by eliminating that middle note is given you the ability to play in either major or minor. Now, a couple of things at this point that are good information, and one of those is that tuning can be aided by modern day electronic tuning devices, especially when you're maybe a guitar player or a regular 5-string fretted banjo player who's used to pressing down a string at a fret and tuning another string from that. But here you don't really have the advantage of that kind of precision. And of course, the thing that makes the banjo sound so interesting in this primitive style is the fact that you don't have those separate individual notes. You just have this smooth transition. And there were some old-time players in North Carolina and in Virginia who would literally go out and buy a Sears and Roebuck banjo and take a piece of sheet metal, lay it over top of the fret so they could get their slides smoothly. And it's one of the kind of interesting banjo sounds that when you are used to that fretless sound and then you go sizzling up the neck on a fretted instrument, it gives you a whole different effect. Using chords on this instrument is a little vague because the exact position of the fingers is slightly vague, but having these pseudo fret markers where you can actually see what's going on there. There's 2 chords that you'd be well to note here. And of course, the instrument is tuned to an open, what I'd call a G modal chord, neither major or minor. You can also get a C configuration, and a song in the key of G major would be a song that normally used at least 2 or 3 chords, and those chords would be the D chord or the 5 chord in this situation, and the C chord or the 4 chord. So you'd call G1, C4, and D5. Now, when I was playing Tom Dooley for you, that brings in this note at the 2nd fret of the 1st string. And you could use that for your D chord. If you wanted to, you could also fret the 3rd string at that same fret. And for your C chord or your C chord substitute, you could fret the 2nd string at the 2nd fret. So if you got stuck and called on to play a song like, "This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me." You could actually play the song with what you've got there. Well, that's Waterbound, an old tune from southern part of Virginia, and tune about North Carolina. We'll sing you the words here in a couple of minutes, but I wanted to show it to you played in that up-picking style, and then make the transition to playing it in the clawhammer style. Now, a lot of people call all of this stuff frailing, but the truth is, frailing is actually a style that utilizes the fingers of the right hand actually beating down on the strings. Now, there's a bunch of different ways to do this. One, you can, if you brought up and raised on that up-picking style where the index finger does the walking for you, then you might want to strike down with the nail, and you do need some nail here. You have to grow your own picks, folks. You strike down, and then these fingers uncurl, and the thumb always comes to rest on that fifth string and then pops off. So it's like, and if you sing to yourself Pete Seeger's bum diddy, bum diddy, bum diddy, bum diddy, you get the tempo going on it. Now, it's dangerous tempo because in each measure there are 6 bits to it. And so if you find yourself suddenly playing a reel and it winds up being a waltz, a good thing to do is to fill in. If you think of these measures with 4 quarter note type beats, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 8 notes dividing those, so it would be 8 eighth notes. What you've got going on is a measure, a 4-beat measure that can be counted 1, 2, 3, 4, or that can have some of those blank spots filled in and be 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. And that's where you get that sort of galloping sound. Now, that was what I originally learned as the frailing style of playing, and I started out with Pete Seeger's How to Play the 5-String Banjo book, which is a great book to have. It's got more information than still any of the other ones that are on the market about all different kinds of banjo playing, and even teaches you how to do a little calypso on it, which is probably valid music once you stop and realize that the banjar, the ancestral banjo, wound up in the islands of the Caribbean as well as on the plantations of the southern United States. But back to the job of figuring out what this frailing really is all about. It's those nails striking down on the strings. And so you get a percussive sound, and considering the fact that the banjo is a combination of a lute-like or harp-like instrument with a drum, that's percussion that you want to get. And those people playing on instruments that do have an animal hide or a plastic head on it, it's not unusual for you to actually strike that head as part of that process to get that drumming effect. So the way I started out was doing that bum ditty style, and you could do the up picking or the down striking, in that same way. And what a lot of the old-time players from the western part of Virginia and the western part of North Carolina did was they held their hands in a certain form, just like this. And a lot of people thought that it looked like their hand was locked in position to be on a plow, which just in that shape. And they didn't do a whole lot of separate finger action. What they did was they moved the whole hand as a unit, and maybe their hands were locked from plowing all day. But they kept the hand in that kind of position and then played the tune like Now, as the playing became more sophisticated, they would occasionally take the thumb and drop the thumb so that it didn't only play the drone string, but it also played a higher string. And it did the same thing that in that double thumbing I showed you a little while ago. Now it became so it's not something you should do all the time. It helps to punctuate the melody that you're playing by using it in certain places to make the playing more interesting and in lots of cases more melodic, because you're picking up melody strings off the inside strings as well as off the drone. So I'm going to play this song through. I'll sing it for you, and I'll show you some of the different things that you can do on this song. I'll start it in the regular up-picking style. Chickens are crowing in the old plow field. Chickens are crowing in the old plow field. Chickens are crowing in the old plow field down in North Carolina. Water-bound and they can't get home. Water-bound and I can't get home. Water-bound, I can't get home down in North Carolina. Now the old man's mad and I don't care. The old man's mad and I don't care. The old man's mad and I don't care because I love his daughter. If he don't give her up, then we're gonna run away. If he don't give her up, then we're gonna run away. If he don't give her up, then we're gonna run away. Down in North Carolina, I'm water-bound. 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 Down in North Carolina. Nick and Charlie left to go home. Nick and Charlie left to go home. Nick and Charlie left to go home down in North Carolina. And I'm water-bound and I can't get home. Water-bound. Water-bound and I can't get home down in North Carolina. Water's wide and I can't get across. Water's wide and I can't get across. Water's wide and I can't get across. Riding on my old gray horse. And I'm water-bound and I can't get home. Water-bound and I can't get home down in North Carolina. Good old ballad, the Ballad of Jesse James, that it's one of those guys who, like Robin Hood, robbed from the rich and gave to the poor, or at least the poor wanted to believe that. And that song is a good example of a singing ballad. And of course, the repertoire of banjo players was really diverse and generally sort of split into two different groups: songs that were singing kinds of things and dance tunes that you might have heard. Example of a dance tune, Soldier's Joy. And then you had the songs like Jesse James. When Jesse James was a lad, he killed many a man, and he robbed the Glendale train. And the people they did say, for many miles away, it was robbed by Frank and Jesse James. Poor Jesse had a wife, she mourned for his life, and 3 children, they were brave. But that dirty little coward who shot Mr. Howard has laid poor Jesse in his grave. The tune goes like this. Now, finding the tune to a song is just basically experimenting around, and a good exercise that you can actually use for that is the playing of the scale that the instrument is tuned into. So if you started off on your low G, went up 2 frets, 2 more, 1, next string, 2nd string, and then hit the 1st string, you'd get something that sounded like this. Or you could even play it as part of an exercise. Now, a lot of people wonder about putting it together, because here you got a lot of things that are going on. You got the left-hand parts, which are combining the finding of the melody, stumbling around on those notes, and then the right-hand parts, which are the frailing and the aiming of the index finger, or some people just use the middle finger. And I should let you know that in some forms of clawhammer playing, it can be done with just one finger going down like this. And the middle finger there is both playing single notes and brushing. So it's... So some people find that the index finger leading and kind of rocking the wrist a little bit works for them. Others find that the middle finger playing the lead and the brush will work. Now, the way I instruct students to get the kinks out of trying to do 2 things at the same time, which are totally different and sometimes seem unrelated, is to learn the picking as a kind of pattern and just get that bum diddy bum diddy bum diddy bum diddy, and then start to take a technique of the left hand, like a pull-off, and do the pull-off as part of the exercise that the right hand is doing. For instance, 1st string, 2nd fret, pull-off, right mixed into the bum ditty becomes... Move it down to the second string. And what it does is it fills in those and beats in that 4-beat measure. So instead of playing bum diddy, you're now playing bum diddy, bum diddy, bum diddy. Or you could hammer or pull. Hammer, pull. And then also using that minor fret, which is the 3rd fret up here. If you play everything across. So the pull-offs of the hammer-ons give you a real solid way to fill in the missing and beats of the bum ditty, or the 1, 2, and 3, 4, and. Some people I've known would sing Chattanooga, 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 choo-choo, Chattanooga, Chattanooga, choo-choo-choo. Whatever works for you is good, but sometimes a little verbal cue to get you onto the right track there is a good idea. Well, back last November, a full day-long workshop was held here in Savannah, Georgia, and folks built a very primitive African instrument called the akanti, made from these same kinds of materials, and the 3 and 4 string version of this canjo. It was a great opportunity for people to realize that you can put together a pretty playable instrument from some basic and simple materials and come up with something that you can learn a whole lot from yourself in the process of putting it together, and you might just go on to bigger and better things along the way. Banjo playing is fun, and it's made up of all kinds of little bits and parts that once you get used to them, you can put them together and play all kinds of things using the slides, pulls and hammers, Polly, oh dear Polly, why do you treat me so? Well, you made me wear that ball and chain, and now my ankle's sore. Won't get drunk no more, won't get drunk no more, won't get drunk no more, way down the old plank road. Well, my name is Bob Zentz, and I come from Norfolk, Virginia, and it's nice to, in any case, have the opportunity to pass on a few pointers about this instrument that I dearly love, and hope you've gained a little bit out of this. We've got some information that you can contact us here at the Ships at the Sea Museum and get some building information about upcoming workshops, maybe even information about upcoming concerts that exemplify the kinds of music that we're into keeping alive. So give it a try. Build yourself a banjo, learn to play a few tunes, and have fun doing it. It's a great way to be a part of an ongoing tradition, an evolving tradition, starting off with African roots and winding up who knows where.